Right now, I'd like to welcome our first speaker of the day. He is a senior director of the Rebuilding Exchange in Chicago. Please give a warm welcome for Bryant Williams.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Bryant Williams. I'm the Senior Director for the Rebuilding Exchange, a small nonprofit social enterprise with a mission to create a market for salvage and reclaimed building materials. Before I really dive into my presentation, I want to thank you all for helping me live out my dream. You know, working at the Rebuilding Exchange, when I'm, being a part of this summit, and a lot of the things that I've been doing in the environmental field is a part of my dream. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the Calumet region of the Chicago area. South Side for life, yes, yep, represent, yeah. So, so the Calumet region is where I was born and raised, and that is, to me, the birthplace of environmental justice. And I don't care what anybody else says, I will argue as long as this takes. Hazel Johnson is the mother of environmental justice. It was born and raised over in the Calumet region, and that's where I spent my formative years, I didn't recognize and realize what I was being impacted by as a kid. I went to school, tiny little elementary school called Nansen Elementary, not too far from the Bishop Ford Freeway, which is where all of the landfills, well, the vast majority of the landfills in the Chicago area. In that neck of the woods, what I found out later on in life is there's 75 permitted landfills, transfer stations, and large quantity generators of hazardous waste right within a mile of where I went to elementary school. So fast forward a couple years, when I went to high school, I went to high school at a school called Carver High School, where it was located right in the middle of Altgeld Gardens. And so there's a young lady named Hazel Johnson who, I believe it was her husband passed away from respiratory illness, and she looked around and she realized that like a lot of her friends and family were passing away from respiratory illness. And then she took a look around in a survey of the area, and she saw that there were, to the south and to the east of her, there were landfills. To the north of her, there was the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, which is our water treatment facility. And then to the west of her was the largest of the large quantity generators on the south side of large quantity generators of hazardous waste. And so this is where I was educated. This is where I was raised and educated. And the one point in time that I did not live on that side of the city, I moved over to the west side and went and finished high school. And right down the street from my high school now is the very first LEED certified building in the Chicago area. It's called the Center for Green Technology. But I'm old enough to remember, don't let the baby face fool you. I'm old enough to remember when that thing was, the Center for Green Technology was just a glimmer in somebody's eye. When I was in school, it was the largest fly dumping zone in the city of Chicago. So waste has followed me everywhere, It's followed me and impacted me literally my entire life. And so, what I decided to do, I was getting the hell out of Chicago. When I went away to college, I found the exact opposite of what I grew up around. I found a little rural town, went to a small, tiny little liberal arts college. I love it, college. If there's any alumni here, no, maybe. All right. And I studied environmental science there. What really drew me into environmental science was this book called Ishmael by a man named Daniel Quinn. Anybody read Ishmael in here? Yes, thank you. So, I had to read this book for a class, and I wound up reading it, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This giant silverback gorilla is teaching me how, Western society is being so wasteful and destroying the earth, and I got to do something about it. And so I stepped out. I started on Friday, finished the book on a Sunday, changed my major to environmental studies on Monday. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that, I'm gonna work in the environmental field. I want to fight waste. I want to eliminate waste. And so like I said, you guys are helping me live my dream. And my dream is having a zero waste society. And everything that I've done since I left college has been leading to that point. A big part of it has been the work at the Rebuilding Exchange. Again, we're We're a nonprofit social enterprise. Our mission is to create a market for salvage and reclaimed building materials. We do it by working with, we're very comparable to like a Habitat for Humanity's Restore, but whereas they take donations from a Lowe's, Home Depot, and Menards, we work directly with the general public. The weekend warriors that are fixing up their bathroom, they can donate materials to us instead of having to pay to dispose of them. They get a tax write-off. We work with demolition contractors to take in building materials and upcycle them. We'll take a door and sell it as a door, or we'll take that door and we'll turn it into a table, or something else fancy. So we're adding value to these materials that we're bringing in, but we're also trying to add value to people's lives. So again, remember, I grew up in the Calumet region, birthplace of environmental justice, location of all of the landfills in the Chicago area. If the Rebuilding Exchange did not exist, these tons of materials that we're diverting from the waste stream would continue to be dumped on my family, my friends, and the people of that community. So we're also trying to hire people from those communities that are most directly impacted by the waste industry. We're also, so we take people with barriers to employment, be it returning home from prison, be it cognitive disabilities, homelessness. We'll provide them with different types of training, be it deconstruction training, warehousing skills, woodworking skills, and we'll employ them for 6 months so that they can, in addition to learning their trade, they'll get experience in it. We provide them with wraparound services, resume development, tutoring so that they can go back and get a GED if they need it, or if they need to get their licenses. We'll driver's license. We'll help them prepare to obtain these things, so that we can help them get back into the workforce. But more importantly, we're trying to show them that, one, just like these materials have a value, they still have a value. And just because you've grown up in this Calumet region and you've been dumped on and you've been treated like trash, you are not. You're a part of the society and you have something to say. I also, so another big part of what we do there is advocacy around the environmental field, specifically around waste. Let's be honest here. It's only 150 of us in the room here, which is a lot. Give yourselves a round of applause. But on the flip side, waste, we look at, it's the redheaded stepchild of the environmental field, Well, it is. It really is, People are, we're more focused on energy efficiency and, saving the whales and hugging trees, but we all are generating waste. And right here in the in the Midwest especially, we have a waste problem. And nowhere more than Illinois do we have that waste problem. In the state of Illinois, we generate almost double the amount of waste per person than the national average. In the state of Illinois, the average person generates about 8.2 pounds of waste, whereas the national average is just a hair under 4 pounds. So, but to me, and I'm gonna wrap up pretty quickly here. I see you eyeing me. I'll take my time. Oh, you ain't saying nothing but a word. So, really what I try and focus on in educating and leading towards zero waste is saying that there is no such thing as waste. Typically I don't use the term waste. I refer to it as a material. What we're doing here is materials management. This isn't zero waste. We're not recycling. We're materials management experts. Because if you tell somebody that it's a material, they see it as something that has a value. And so if I commoditize it, I could do something with it. So that instead of it being a piece of garbage that you can throw away, it's something that I can use to create with. It can be a piece of art. It can be a door. It can be a table. It can be, a cutting board, what have you. As long as you show that as long as you express that it's a material, people will understand that it has a value, and then they'll try and figure something that can be done with it. So that's what that's a big part of what we're doing at the Rebuilding Exchange and a lot of the other organizations that I'm involved in. We're looking at we're really looking at food waste in the Chicago area, and that ties into some of the barriers associated with what can be done to lead to a zero waste society. Chicago is very, let's say, behind the times with our political system, you know. So, and I can say this because I'm a recovering bureaucrat. I worked for Cook County's Department of Environmental Control, you know, and while I was there, I hear that, you know, you never really recover from being a bureaucrat. You just learn to live with the symptoms. So, you know, if I start speaking in vague terms or double speak, ignore me. I'm just, you know, having a relapse. So, so while I was at the Department of Environmental Control, I helped develop what's called the Demolition Debris Divergent Ordinance. You know, so anytime a single family home or larger is demolished in the suburban Cook area, a minimum of 70% of that material must be diverted from the waste stream, specifically has to be recycled in some way, shape, or form. Then a minimum of 5% of that material must be set aside for material reuse. The biggest reason that we did that was we saw the opportunity for economic development associated with those building materials. Of everything that goes into the materials management stream, building materials make up 40% of it. And of what goes into the waste stream, materials management stream, building materials are the easiest to recycle and or reuse, and they have the highest value. So we're trying to create an economy in the Chicago area around these building materials. And that's why this summit is so important, because I know environmental engineering and I know policy, but I don't know environmental design. I don't know sustainable design, so I'm really looking forward to what Craig has to say. You know, I dabble in environmental justice because, you know, born and raised, all that good stuff. I explained it a couple times, but my cousin Sharonda is an environmental justice expert, and so I'm sorry. It's in joke. We'll explain later. So, but what's so important here is that the connections that we can make, you know, and so I'm really excited and really honored to be able to participate, and really honored to have been asked to be one of the first speakers here, you know. So I'm gonna wrap it up. See, this is just looking. So thank you all for your time.